Welcome to the Fabulous 413. It's Live Music Friday, and we welcome back to the studio North Adams-based artist Sierra Fragale with her brand new album, Get What You Want. And later we'll talk birding, hiking, and wine with our Franklin County wine friend at Leverett Village Co-op, Ken Washburn. But first... This weekend, Mass Mocha is celebrating its 25th anniversary, and as part of those celebrations is cascading art upon art.
Which is to say that many of the artists being brought to North Adams for their events are attached to the work of Vincent Valdez, an incredible contemporary artist.
This Saturday, another visionary artist will be performing in concert as part of all of those festivities, celebrating the opening of the Vincent Valdez exhibit, Saul Williams.
Saul Williams has been breaking ground in just about every artistic avenue he's found himself on, from slam poetry to hip-hop and turntablism to rock to film. Every project he's a part of reframes perspective for what that medium can do.
With 9 albums, 6 books, many film appearances, including his directing the Afro-futurist epic Neptune Frost, and a fiery cameo in the recent movie Sinners, Williams brings his wit and convivial connective tissue to each project that he's a part of.
And on May 24th at 8:30 p.m., he'll take the stage at Mass Mocha to help celebrate Vincent Valdez's exhibition, Just a Dream. Saul Williams, thank you so much for joining us.
Convivial connective tissue. Wow. It's a pleasure.
When Khalees heard you were coming to Mass Mocha, Khalees, we mentioned that the name of the exhibit is called Just a Dream. Khalees was like, we got to get Saul Williams on the show. So now we got it.
Well, from your movie slam and your work in slam poetry at the beginning of your career, I've been watching and sometimes able to connect with performance of yours. I went to Kenya and we brought you there twice, and I was there for every minute of it. Again, little bit obsessed with your work. So this is a dangerous thing.
Thank you so much.
Can you tell us your connection to the artist who will be celebrating the opening, Vincent Valdez, and why Mass Mocha has brought you to be part of this celebration this weekend?
With Vincent, I'm simply a fan. We have yet to have met in person, but, I have high regards for his work. And I believe the subject matter that his work touches is crucial. I believe that, so much artwork is crucial to the times. I believe that art is one of the underutilized sort of weapons, if you will, that we use and can use against empire. And so we haven't met personally. I just love the work. So why did Mass Mocha invite me? I don't know.
We'll have to ask them.
Yeah, we're both dreamers. We both realize the connection between art and politics and realize the importance of speaking to the times through our work.
I want to talk about your work in film a little bit, not just because seeing you on Sinners was me going to my partner immediately. Wait a minute, is that Saul Williams?
And what a movie, first of all, Sinners. Go see it while it's still in the theaters.
Yes, your writing debut is Slam, and then
That's my screenwriting and acting debut in film.
Right on. And then there's Neptune Frost. We have, a good 25 almost years later.
Yeah.
How do you feel about the evolution of your writing between those two pieces?
Every opportunity that I was afforded to learn, to travel, to converse with people across the world, and to understand well beyond, the points of indoctrination that come with growing up in the U.S. and being told who your enemies are and never asking why and all of this stuff, I feel grateful for the opportunity to ingest so much information. It has been a consistent process. So there's a number of books, there's a number of albums. It's possible for anyone who's interested to chart my growth and to see where my interests lie through my creative output. I'm really just grateful for the opportunity and for those that tune in.
Do you feel that filming right around the time of the pandemic also had a bit of an influence, not just on the film, but on your artistic output afterwards?
Yeah, so Anisia Uziman and I co-directed Neptune Frost. We shot it in Rwanda with an entire cast and crew of Rwandan and Burundian actors. We started shooting that in February of 2020 and wrapped March 4th, 2020. The last week of production, a few people on set were like, hey, did you guys hear about that thing yet? Because we were so wrapped up, we built an entire village of recycled computer parts which we had gathered from the Congo and Uganda. We were so wrapped up in trying to complete the film that we weren't really watching the news at the time. So we had no clue. But as soon as we got back to Kigali, the capital of Rwanda, 2 days later, the entire city was shut down. Of course, they were very well prepared, way more prepared than the US. You know, they had places for people to stand and wash their hands. We went to the bank to settle affairs, and everybody was basically in hazmat suits. By the time we flew back to the States, we knew enough to like buy toilet paper and hand washing and stuff and masks there. And it's crazy because they were like taking our temperature before we entered the airport in Kigali before we left. And then we passed through Istanbul. They did the same thing, all this stuff. And then we flew into Los Angeles. And they were like, hey, welcome everyone. Da, da, da. And there were no precautions being taken. Like it was totally crazy to see the difference in responses between what we saw abroad and what we, encountered at home. Then we did post-production during the pandemic. Of course, post-production is a form of isolation anyway, the amount of hours you spend in an editing room. So our editor was a part of our bubble. It was pretty crazy. And then the next crazy part was when we premiered it at Cannes during what was the supposed end of the pandemic. But, there were a lot of questions and we had great difficulty achieving vaccinations for our cast to be able to travel. Then once we achieved them, their visas were still revoked by France. We went through hell, but we were excited that the film was released in theaters. And now for people who didn't see it in theaters, they can rent it or what have you, Neptune Frost. So it was wild, as was every experience during the pandemic.
We're speaking with Saul Williams, the multi-talented, multifaceted, multidisciplinary artist who will be performing at Mass MoCA as part of their 25th anniversary celebration at Mass MoCA this Saturday, May 24th at 8:30. Saul, if you look at your resume of the artists who you have collaborated with, it is so varied and incredible. I mean, it's a Tribe Called, I'm just going to do a quick rundown. A Tribe Called Quest, Deerhoof, Janelle Monáe, Nine Inch Nails, Bonnie Prince Billy, Buckethead. The list goes on, and it's incredible and kind of goes to show you the multifaceted artist that you are. Who do you want to work with that you have yet to be able to work with?
Shoot, I'd love to work with Wong Kar-wai. I'd take that. That list that you read is kind of normal too, just because I think there's a mutual appreciation between so many artists. Oftentimes we're so happy to meet each other, to encounter each other. We're always looking for art that moves us. And I'm not shy at all about fanboying over artists that I encounter. I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm so glad to meet you. And I'm also not shy about the artists that over the past 19 months that I've had to eject from my iTunes or whatever because I can't stand the position that they've refused to take or that they've taken in face of genocide. Can I say that on the radio?
You can.
Boom.
We're speaking with Saul Williams, who will be performing at Mass MoCA Saturday night. You do so many different things, Saul, from poetry, music, filmmaking, acting. Do you have a discipline that you wake up in the morning and you say, I'm going to create and I'm going to work on this? Or does the spirit move you differently on a different day?
From my perspective, I don't really do so many things. For me, it's really simple. My first love is theater.
You do have a master's from NYU in acting, right?
Yeah. And that's my first love. As a child, I fell in love with acting. It's through theater that my broader appreciation of the arts was nurtured. Of course, I also grew up during the birth of hip hop in New York. And of course, this really excited me as a kid. Started rapping probably the same age that I started acting when I was in third grade. Got exposed to a lot of music. I was an exchange student. I lived in Brazil for a year. All this stuff kind of bubbling in me. And when I did my first album, I can't say that I had every intention of making the music for that album, but I ended up signing with Rick Rubin. The first thing he did, I had already had a book of poetry, and he had spent some time with this book of poetry of mine. We were walking through Central Park. I'll never forget, he held up my book. He was like, this is poetry. And then he pulled an album, a CD from his pocket, and it was the Beatles' White Album. And he was like, this is songwriting. Learn the difference. When you have 20 songs, we'll go into the studio. And I went home to Brooklyn, and the next day unpacked a number of gifts from Rick, from the label. Well, gifts. I mean, I was charged for them, but but they were gifts. Labels. But it was this huge Yamaha keyboard, a drum machine, recording device, microphones, monitors. It was all this stuff, and I was like, oh yeah, I'm making the music. I had never programmed a beat in my life, but I had already recorded something, and I had already gone through the process of being really frustrated with the types of beats that beat producers in New York were handing me, because I had a vision of how I wanted the music to sound. And I started realizing that I wouldn't really be able to execute that vision unless I could execute at least some part of it myself. And so I began the process of learning how to program with my first album. And that became another creative outlet for me, because sometimes I don't have the words, but playing with sounds inspires words at times. So that's a long answer to your question, but between playing with music and then finding the words and playing with words and finding the sounds and always having loved the stage in terms of performance, all of these things kind of boil down to the same thing. Graduating from theater to film is really a no-brainer. It all kind of bleeds together for me. So it's not really so many things, right? And we're not there for my visual art exhibition.
That's up next. No. Who knows? I wouldn't put it past you.
I feel like it's coming.
Coming up, more with the Renaissance man Saul Williams, who plays Mass Mocha tomorrow night. We'll hear about what role he almost played in Ryan Coogler's Black Panther, and more about his role in Coogler's new movie, Sinners. You're listening to The Fabulous 413 on 88.5 NEPM.
The Fabulous 413 podcast is funded by Northeast Solar, helping customers make the switch to solar for savings, energy security, and tax incentives. Learn more at northeast-solar.com.
Speaking with Saul Williams, who you can see in the new Ryan Coogler movie Sinners, and who you can see yourself on stage performing this Saturday night at Mass Mocha, 8:30.
I know that it was mostly talking between agents, but do you know what role that Ryan Coogler was going to offer you for Black Panther?
Oh, I have a sense. I'm pretty sure it was the role that Sterling Brown ended up playing, which was just in that brief visit to Oakland.
Right. Yeah.
I'm pretty sure it was that. I'm not 100% sure. I didn't ask him, but that's the one. When I saw it, I was like, because I felt like they called me late. I figured it must have been that.
And not just because we're talking about Coogler movies, but when I saw Sinners, there's that scene where the music genres are blending, the dance genres are blending, and like right in the middle of the movie during a performance. And it immediately reminded me of the techno scene in Neptune Frost, where like it's all electronic, like they're part of the internet and not part of the internet, and everybody's kind of gathering in this thing. What did that scene in Sinners mean to you, and did you also feel kind of connection to that work that you'd already done?
When I read the script, I understood it immediately as the centerpiece of the film. My first thought was that, he wrote all of this just to be able to do that. Because it felt so special, so important, and so rich. When I first saw the film before it came out, he was being pressured in the direction of maybe not keeping that scene because test audiences kind of split evenly down the middle, he said, between black and white. White audiences were often like, yeah, but what is that? I don't understand what that had to do with the film. And the way that I spoke to him about it was that I was like, dude, this is a film that's about the blues, and that scene is your blues solo. It's the director's guitar solo. And so there's no way you can lose that. That's your solo. That's your homage. That's the moment where you're elevating beyond the script itself and saying, forget whatever, the storyline is supposed to be and blah, 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 blah. This is a part of the storyline, but this is the meta aspect of it. And I'm so grateful that it made the final cut. And obviously, the response to the film in general and to that scene in particular has proven how important it is for artists once they enter the space. Their job then becomes to protect their vision, because the producers, studios, will always say, yeah, but what if we did this? What if we changed this? And of course, like they're giving money sometimes. You're like, oh, maybe this is where I'm supposed to compromise, all of this stuff. But it's so crucial that artists who enter that space protect their vision so that we don't end up with this, piece of work that's just about the bottom line, where everything of substance has been sucked out of it for fear of upsetting or offending or any of the excuses that they would come up with.
What will you be bringing to the stage, Saul, on Saturday night?
Because I think I've seen like 3 different incarnations of your music life, 3 different genres of your music life. The last one being primarily electronica, and again, like turntable, working with beats at Big Ears.
So I have been collaborating with an extraordinary musician and friend named Carlos Nino. Carlos, you may not know him by name, but you would know his work because he produced Andre 3000's Flute album.
Nice.
Okay. And so Carlos, I've known him for like 20 years. We've always been close, and I'm trying to figure out what I'm allowed to say or not. So we have begun the process of collaborating on stage. Our collaborations on stage have been a synthesis of musical and poetic improvisation. And so we really never know where we're going to land, but we certainly take off. And so not even I know what to expect. There are other extraordinary musicians who will be sharing the stage with us. There's Daedalus, who's an extraordinary beat maker and musician. There's Surya, who's an extraordinary keyboard synthesizer player who grew up on the ashram with Alice Coltrane. Yeah, no, trust me, like we do this, and then we do after we leave Masmoka, we go to do 4 shows at the Blue Note in New York.
Wow. Oh, nice.
And honestly, it's really been like a cleansing of the palate because there's so much going on. There's so much to be said. There's so much to be felt. There's so much to be absorbed in these times. And being in that sort of space where all is welcome, in a sense, has really served us. So we did our first show in December of last year, and that show went so well that we will be releasing our first show as an album that will come out on the label International Anthem in August. We're waiting for the release date, but that's my first meeting with Carlos Nino and friends. And that one had Kamasi Washington, Aja Monet. There's a lot. So we always keep it moving in terms of who we invite to collaborate with us, but we don't rehearse.
It's but if you've got good people on stage, you kind of read each other. You don't need to necessarily. If you've got the same vocab, you can make magic happen.
So we have started that process of making magic. It's been a few months now. It's not just that show we did in December. There's other work, some that I'm not allowed to announce yet, that we've done. But wow, we are tuned in to each other as we are tuned into the times.
It's been about 10 years since your last book release, and it's not as if you haven't been busy in the meantime, but along with new albums and new films coming out that are featuring you, is there any chance of another book, or is that behind you, do you feel, in your work?
Oh, not at all. I have 3 books that are slated for release. I just signed a book deal with Haymarket Books. That is my first book of essays where I am writing on the intersection between art and politics. And that's what I've been working on over the last kind of 2-3 months. As far as I know, slated for a 2026 release. Also slated for a 2026 release is my first graphic novel. something that I started working on the same time that I started working on Neptune Frost. I signed that deal in 2014, and that's how long it's taken. It's huge 350-page graphic novel called Martyr Loser King that is similar in story and context to Neptune Frost, so that we're following coltan miners in unnamed country in Central Eastern Africa and talking about hacking and mining and all of the realities of, exploitation that surround the devices that we're so heavily dependent on even to communicate in this moment, right? That book, the illustrator's name is Morgan Sorn. It's coming out through First Second Books in 2026. And then I am also working on a second graphic novel, which is a collection of prose and poetry that have been illustrated. And that is also through First Second Books. And that is called Let There Be Dark. My part is done. It's the illustrators that are working.
That's awesome.
But no, I would never leave books behind. It's not that. I mean, that's like leaving poetry behind. Like it's a crucial part of my creative practice. It's just that these things take time. And of course, in getting our first film, Neptune Frost, to screens, there was a great deal of work and intention that had to be done because it's a musical as well. So I created 3 albums worth of material. There was so much to be done. So now we're at that point where it's all about to catch up.
Right on.
Remember that part of the conversation where you said he didn't do that much? Somehow I don't believe you.
I didn't illustrate the books.
There's one thing that you didn't do. I'll give you that. Saul Williams.
Well, I so appreciate you all having me here.
Oh, it's a delight. And
Did I not start this conversation being like, I don't know if I can not fangirl out about the fact that you said yes to talking to us? Like, I am just elated.
Saul Williams said he fanboys out too. So
I
there you
know,
go.
it's
Good. It's
awesome.
good to show your
All the
appreciation.
time.
We share the love.
You can see Saul Williams at Mass Mocha as part of their 25th anniversary celebration Saturday night at Mass Mocha in North Adams. It's also in collaboration with the opening of the Vincent Valdez exhibit, which will open this weekend as well. What an inspirational conversation, Saul. And thank you so much for talking with us today.
We really appreciate it.
Thank you. And I'm looking forward.
Later in the show, another talented musician spending time in North Adams, Live Music Friday with Sierra Fragale. But up next, birding and hiking and wines for Memorial Day grilling with Ken Washburn from the Leverett Village Co-op. You're listening to the Fabulous 413 on 88.5 NEPM.
The Fabulous 413 podcast is funded by the UMass 5 College Credit Union, offering Co-op Advantage checking with cash back on all purchases, plus secure debit card controls, all from the UMass 5 mobile banking app. Insured by NCUA, umass5.coop.
We have bobolinks?
We sure do. A good place to see them is sort of the area behind the book mill, Ferry Road, Hadley, great bobolinks. Bobolinks are small birds in the blackbird family, by the way, and they live in fields, agricultural fields, that often get mown for hay while the little baby bobolinks are still tiny and vulnerable. So apparently delaying your mowing by 1.5 weeks can help the bobolink populations, just for any hay farmers that are listening to this program.
Hey, farmers.
Hey!
Hey, farmers, hey.
We are at the only store in Leverett, Massachusetts, owned by the community, the Leverett Village Co-op. Oh, and we just got off our fund drive, and we're like a radio station that's supported by the community, and Leverett Village Co-op supported by the community. That's what we love about the 413, and we're here with our Franklin County wine friend, who is also the manager of the Leverett Village Co-op, and a level 2 sommelier, Ken Washburn. Welcome back to the show, Ken.
It's been a long time.
And when we last had you on, I believe, we talked a lot about your other passion besides wine, which is birding. And we're in prime birding season.
So my band had a photo shoot, but we were walking to one of the sites we got photographed, and we saw this duck with like basically a feather afro. And we're like, what is this duck?
He ain't no duck.
So red, and it's had a ton of babies, which was super cute. But
I wonder if it was a common merganser female.
maybe.
They have really wild crests, and they have tons of babies.
Yeah, that would make more sense.
Like 17 plus.
What's the coolest bird you've seen this birding season so far, Ken?
Oh, that's such a hard question. I did see a Canada warbler here at the co-op yesterday morning, which was really thrilling. And the Canada warbler is a beautiful little warbler that has a little black necklace. It looks like he has black feathers on his chest, and it looks like a beautiful necklace. So someone told me that they think he's the gayest warbler because of his necklace.
My favorite Canadian warblers are Alanis Morissette and Neil Young. Anyway, we're not here to talk about music or birds. We're here to talk about wine. We are in the Wine Thunderdome Leverett Village Co-op, which is a general store and carries all sorts of fun stuff. Everything from wine and beer to candy and cigarettes and scales and
local asparagus.
local asparagus.
Local asparagus. And sometimes mushrooms as well.
You guys have the Asparagus Festival coming up soon, right?
Saturday, June 7th. Thanks for the shameless plug.
Shameless plug.
This might be the first time that I finally try the asparagus ice cream. I've never had it before, and I'm honestly terrified of it.
It's polarizing.
It is.
What do we think? Meaning you guys. No.
We,
okay, that's a
Khalees
no.
and I have no comment.
Oh, yeah, wait, you can't have... There are
Wink,
no
wink.
facial expressions happening whatsoever. One more plug is that the day after the Asparagus Festival, which you should definitely attend, the co-op is having their annual Spring Fling here, June 8th, 12 to 4, and we will be having a wine tasting.
Shameful plug.
What are we going to be tasting in this wine tasting today, Ken? Two of Ken's favorites.
Ken's favorites. So
Mine too, actually.
you and I have really similar tastes. So similar. Starting out, we have a Vouvray, it really just might be one of my favorite wines of all time. Vouvray is Chenin Blanc from the Loire Valley. It can be off-dry, which means the tiniest, almost imperceptibly sweet. And then we're also going to be having a Beaujolais Village.
Two French wines. One thing that you did interestingly with the Vouvray and Chenin Blanc, which is white, is try to expedite the process of chilling it. Now, as I mentioned, you were level 2 sommelier, so that is like, I'm saying brown belt of wine, maybe not quite black belt.
Not black belt.
But is this something you learned in sommelier school?
I definitely did not learn this in school. I definitely learned this at probably a house party in Portland, Oregon.
Put a bird on it!
What I did was I wet a paper towel, I wrapped the wine in the paper towel, and I stuck it in a freezer. And I left it for, 10 minutes, and I don't even know how cold it got, and I don't even know if this works. So this is my trick for chilling wines quickly, and I'll probably look it up.
Let's not. If you're a physicist of any kind or a scientist who's hearing this, either confirm or deny the malarkey or tactic of chilling wine quickly. The other one I heard, and I think I saw it in the documentary Somm, was you put it in a bucket of ice, but then you add a lot of salt
Yeah, that's the one
to
that
the
I know.
ice, and then that makes it colder faster. Scientists who are listening, tell us what's real.
It does keep it colder faster, and it will stay cold for longer.
All right, well, let's see how cold you got your Vouvray, the
It's where
Chenin
you
Blanc.
salt ice when you're making ice cream. It's the same thing.
I just wanted to ask y'all, how much do you care about temperature when it comes to serving wines? I like to think of myself as someone that doesn't care, and then I get a wine that's too warm, even a red at a restaurant, and then suddenly I have all kinds of opinions about it.
I'm not hardcore about it, but I do feel like most things need a little bit of a chill. I also feel like a lot of things get served over chilled.
I kind of care. Like if you serve me a white wine too cold that I can't taste it, I feel like you're trying to hide something, because the colder you make something, the less you can taste it. The molecules move around less.
That's why you keep vodka in the freezer, so you don't taste it.
You already practically
Something
don't
else I
taste it
learned in
anyway.
college.
Most restaurants and most people in the United States serve their red wines too warm. It's supposed to be cellar temperature, not room temperature, and most U.S. rooms are too warm.
One more contentious question. What do we think about ice cubes in white wine?
Not a fan.
Yeah.
Yeah, not a fan.
I don't judge you. I just wouldn't make that choice for myself.
Yeah. We'll just silently judge you. You know, like asparagus ice cream.
Guilty.
Vouvray, Chenin Blanc,
Smells
from the Loire Valley,
amazing.
not very cold.
I feel like Vouvray just smells like heaven on earth. It smells to me like everything is right in my life, and I'm sitting near a hayfield, late spring, eating a perfect red apple.
Why are the apples there in late spring? And is the hayfield giving you allergies?
It's
like
part
it's
of my
probably
fantasy.
giving me.
It's just part of my
My fantasy exists outside of the space-time continuum.
Exactly.
To me-
Candy apple is exactly the thing I was looking for.
A
That's
tiny
classic for Vouvray.
Yeah, tiny bit of sweetness, as you mentioned.
I know I should be talking right now, but I just am like really
You're dreaming.
taking it
This is
in.
Beautiful.
Khalees has such a dreamy look.
Honey and honeysuckle
I don't know. I get green apple from so many white wines, but Chenin Blanc, I always get red apple.
All right, Leverett Village Co-op, the return of the Thunderdome to the only store in Leverett, Massachusetts. Rattlesnake Gutter Road, is that the name of it?
Yeah, there's a geological feature down the road called the Rattlesnake Gutter. I don't know how it got its name, and I'm sure some local historian is listening and shaking their fist saying, you should know.
You should email us, and then we'll come and talk to you, and we'll get the history. We love that kind of thing.
There is a really great group, the Rattlesnake Gutter Trust, dedicated to preserving the Rattlesnake Gutter. So it was a road that could go straight through from basically Leverett Center up here to North Leverett. This part of Leverett's called Moore's Corner, but the road was decommissioned or whatever you call it. I don't know.
Very contentious, I think last year, right?
Yes, and it was voted to remain closed. And it is a popular hiking spot, and people walk their dogs, people ride horses.
Have you ever seen a rattlesnake there?
No.
Has anyone
I'm not
you know?
looking super hard for the rattlesnakes, but you once
listening
you walk
hard?
down there, no. I'm only listening for birds, Monty. But when you walk up the road, there's a gate, and you can't drive past it. You keep walking, and the rocks are huge. It's almost like, I don't know if you've ever been to Purgatory Chasm in
I
Worcester.
love that place.
It's not quite that dramatic, but for Western Mass, it feels crazy. I mean, the rocks are ginormous, and there's one that someone has painted a pair of lips. Oh. Like a little kissy mouth.
It's like a rolling stone.
Yes, exactly. Rock. Lips. I still have this wine in my glass because I don't want to let go.
Well, we can go back to it.
we have to
but we
go-
must
oh,
move
you're
on,
right,
Ken,
okay.
because there's 2 wines in every wine Thunderdome. 2 wines enter, 1 wine leaves.
All right, wine number 2. The Domaine de Colette Beaujolais Village. Even though this is technically Burgundy, it is not Pinot Noir. It is Gamay. And
Well, is it technically Burgundy? Because I was under the impression that Burgundy kicked Beaujolais out. Because
I don't
Gamay, they didn't think Gamay was a serious enough grape.
Well, they're fools because to me it's serious. I think it's great. Now, important to note that this is not Beaujolais Nouveau. This is not the like super carbonic, ultralight stuff that comes out, like November?
For the week before Thanksgiving.
Yeah. So that is not this.
But Beaujolais and Gamay is very strawberry to me. And that is oftentimes what can push me off because it's almost a little bit strawberry bubble gum.
Am I on a kick, or is there blood again?
Nope, there's definitely blood.
Okay.
I've still got the strawberry, but it's strawberry and tobacco and tar and blood.
I bring this wine to every Thanksgiving with my partner's family.
I bet. Because cranberry also, I think, could be in here too. It might
Also,
go nice.
it's not, they're Cabernet people, but Cabernet does not pair with everything on the Thanksgiving table. I prefer a versatile wine, so.
Yeah.
Oh, I love it. I get like brambly dried strawberry.
Yep. Ken's favorites. Ken's gonna have to vote for which one.
You're gonna do a sound effect after that, probably.
Yeah. Should we make a sounder that says Ken's favorite?
Ken's favorites.
Ken's favorite.
Ken's favorite.
Ken's favorites.
A lot of people are gonna grill on Memorial Day weekend if the weather will allow them to want to.
Sunday and Monday are supposed to be great.
Put a steak on the grill. Perfect. Some asparagus while you're on there. Maybe get a little bit of crumbled blue cheese with that steak.
Yeah.
Or gorgonzola.
Invite me.
Hey, you live right down the street from me. I should.
I'm coming over, yeah.
Vouvray, Chenin Blanc.
This smells like rotten apples, and I love it.
Yes, that's it.
Okay, revisiting the Beaujolais Village.
Still roast beef.
Beef stroganoff.
It smells like roast beef.
To me,
Try
it
it
tastes a
now,
little
too.
bit more like roast beef. When I drink it, it definitely brings out the beef.
Seen that?
Every time we talk about beef, I bring up the Sam Elliott beef commercial because it's the best thing about beef ever.
Beef bourguignon.
Have you seen the video of that little girl saying, "I smell like beef"?
Yes.
I smell like beef. I smell like beef.
That's the best thing about beef.
I also love that.
It does smell like beef. That is crazy.
All right, who's ready to vote? Leverett Village Co-op, Wine Thunderdome.
This is really
Level
hard
2
for me.
sommelier and manager of Leverett Village Co-op, Ken Washburn, has presented us 2 wines. A Vouvray of Chenin Blanc from the Loire Valley, Cuvée Silex from Vigenot Chevreau, Voulez-vous coucher avec moi ce soir?
I guess you made your choice then.
And a Beaujolais Village, Domaine de Colette of the grape Gamay. I have made my choice, and will you go to bed with me tonight, Vouvray?
This is real difficult, and I don't think it's ever been this hard with the red versus the white.
Here's the thing, we had a magic moment with the Vouvray where we all had to like pause and reflect, and we went into like an imagination state.
It's painful, but I also vote for the Vouvray.
Yeah, I think-
Because of the fantasy moment that I had.
That's what this experience, it's like art.
And it's unanimous. That Vouvray is beautiful.
If you're doing steaks or burgers on the grill even, and asparagus on the grill for Memorial Day weekend, start out with the Vouvray and have it with the asparagus or a salad, maybe with early strawberries.
When you have the asparagus out, pair it with the Vouvray.
Isn't that what I said?
No, you started. Oh, wait, did you?
Yeah.
Never mind.
And then when the steak comes
When
out,
the steak comes out, move to the Beaujolais.
move to the Beaujolais. It's good to have a couple different flavors to choose from on the table. Have a white open, have a red open.
Versatility, that's the key. Wow, hashtag Ken's favorites.
Ken's favorites. Ken's favorites.
And your spring fling happening the day after our Asparagus Festival, Sunday, June 8th.
12 to 4, right here, and the weather will be perfect.
What's going to be happening at it?
We have live music. I think we're going to have live ducks from Duck World, which is the duck rescue on West Chestnut Hill in Montague.
Wait a minute.
I have not ever
Duck
heard of this.
World?
Duck
You
World.
could literally drive by it it's like 5 minutes from here.
We're going to Duck World sometime on the show.
Oh, Duck World's amazing. You know,
Duck World.
That song ended up in my top 100 most played on Spotify within the past 5 years. The DuckTales theme song, it's mortifying, but it really, really got me going.
It's a banger. Up next for Live Music Friday, we welcome back to the studio North Adams-based musician Sierra Fragale. You're listening to the Fabulous 413 on 88.5 NEPM. Welcome back to the Fabulous 413, and if you can believe it, I love doing David Lynch, especially when our guest is in here. It's Live Music Friday once again, and we welcome back to the studio the Hudson Valley-raised but North Adams-based singer, songwriter, composer, dancer, and jazzerciser Sierra Fragale.
Sierra is a member of the Great Falls-based band Cloudbelly, but has had her own solo career before being conscripted by that band. Sierra has a brand spanking new album called Get What You Want out now. Welcome back. Let's start with a song.
To suffer, to feel the breath of every emotion blinding, to muster all of the courage to embrace the differences instead of picking them out in a lineup, instead of counting the seconds till time's up. I'll be damned, I just wanna hold your hand. I'll take that if I can ever finish anything. Manic respect when I feel small. I'm scared to death of losing it all. Strike a match, blow it out 2 seconds later. Count to 10, take in the ephemeral nature. I love that, I just wanna hold your hand. And I'll take that if I can ever say the way I'm feeling. Hide behind sleight of hand and leave it vague again. When all I wanna do
The live fade. That is Sierra Fragale from her new album, Get What You Want.
But we heard about it the last time that we saw you around the Back Porch Festival. How much more work did you need to do on it before it's released last week?
That was back in March.
Yeah.
The album had been done. Yeah, I was sitting on this one for about a year, and then just came out last week, May 16th. So yeah, it was really from the end of the recording process. I spent about a year working on all of the visuals and the music videos and really building this visual world to accompany the music.
Talk about the visual world. And last time we had you on, we talked about Jazzercise is on TV, and it's set to like a 1980s Jazzercise video. It was directed by...
my good friend Sophie Taylor.
Okay.
Yeah.
And you worked with another filmmaker that I know we've worked with here at NEPM.
Yes, Joe Idonitis.
Yes. So tell us about like what you're going for visually with this album of sounds.
When I first kind of heard all of these songs together, it was really clear to me that I was making something more expansive sonically than I've ever really done before. And that was big thanks to Eric, who produced it, to really like allow me to go for that kind of bigger, expansive sound. When I was thinking about how I wanted the record to live in the world, I was like, well, you know, we're making all of these expansive songs. We should really like go for it in terms of visuals and music videos. And this is my 4th record, but this is the first record where I've put this much attention to detail into anything else besides the music.
Are the John Carpenter elements that seem to erupt out of it intentional, or is that just something that came along with this concept too?
I think that was purely accidental, but also kind of hilarious. I mean, I think I have this very specific sense of humor, especially when it comes to being a musician. Like, I fully know that this is such a weird thing to do with your life. You know, it's like, we're making this weird music video. Why not grab my friend who looks exactly like me as a body double, and we'll like hold hands and you know, walk through a portal that is my bathroom door. Like, it's there are just all of these things that together make a lot of sense, but individually as the ideas were coming in, it was like, oh, this is kind of funny. Yeah, the John Carpenter thing, purely accidental, but actually makes a lot of sense when I think about it.
Sonically, you can hear it too. And I think it's fun. You can sense your sensibilities and your humor when you describe yourself and your music on Instagram as premium seltzer with natural flavors for depth and complexity and bass.
Yeah, that's the if you look on a Polar seltzer can, hopefully they don't come for me for this.
We've already given them enough love on this show.
We did a whole, like, half of an episode about why we loved Polar Seltzer so
Yeah.
much. Worcester-based company.
Yes.
Really? I didn't know that.
Oh,
Worcester,
yeah, no,
Massachusetts.
they're local.
Local-ish.
No way.
Here we go, buzz marketing Polar Seltzer
Man.
again.
I'm just saying.
Well, here's the thing. I was like, when I was drinking a can one day, and I was like reading the can, as you do on a can of seltzer. You got to read the ingredients. And I saw that like premium seltzer with natural flavors for depth, and I was like, man, that is a great bio.
Oh, yeah. And bass you add to it. Well, now that we're in for a dime, in for a dollar, as they say, do you have a favorite flavor of Polar Seltzer?
Ginger lime.
That's
Yep.
Felice's current non-seasonal flavor. Polar Seltzer, not an underwriter of NEPM. Yet.
Nor are they an investor of Sierra Fragale Enterprises Incorporated.
I mean, right?
Yet.
I do love that your website is billed as Sierra Fragale Enterprises Incorporated.
Of course.
I mean, you are a business person.
Well, there's something, I mean, that's me just like poking fun at the different ways in which we are like forced to enterprise ourselves in this capitalist hellscape
That's
that
the
we're
word.
in. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think there are many other ways in my life where I try to really, you know, not fall under the guise of capitalism, but in some ways, especially in the music industry, which is so fractured right now in a lot of ways, it makes me feel better to like poke a little bit of fun at it.
Yeah.
So.
The opinions expressed on this show are exclusively those of Sierra Fragale and Polar Seltzer.
Don't project on the Polar
I'm pretty sure
Seltzer.
Polar Seltzer is anti-capitalist. No, I don't know. Maybe I'm reading. Maybe I'm reading
I
into
know.
it. They have
It's
this whole
big-
stadium named after themselves in Worcester right now.
Big aluminum, you know?
Let's talk about your Tiny Synth and your upcoming tour. As we may have mentioned, like, you're a singer-songwriter, and this is kind of a pivot sound-wise for you, like bringing in that sort of more electronic sound. And you're able to do this with this tiny box that you put on the ground. But on tour, is it just going to be you and that box, or are you taking a band with you?
Well, it's going to be myself, this tiny box, and more synths and drum machines.
Oh, cool.
Yeah. I've really enjoyed expanding the arrangements of these songs live as something that I just start by doing myself. There's something so intimate to me about figuring out the ways in which I can manipulate a machine to make the sounds that I want. The live show will be just as energetic, I hope, as the record. And I think I've become known for this little person, big voice, big energy. You wouldn't necessarily expect that. I think it's all the more impactful when I roll up to the show with like a couple of road cases with some drum machines and synths and a guitar, and you're like, what's going to happen here? And I think what's so exciting about music being released now is that it's becoming so genreless, and artists are really taking the initiative to just do whatever they want.
Our friend, singer-songwriter Chris Delmhorst, who was just here a couple weeks ago, has called it genre agnostic, which I think is a great term. And why put yourself in one lane?
Yeah. I mean, that's what the industry is constantly forcing us to do. And not to bring it back to capitalism, but, you know, it's a very anti-capitalist approach to be like, actually, I'm going to do the things that I want to do, and you'll either like it or you won't, and that's okay.
Yeah. It's premium seltzer with natural flavor for depth and complexity and bass.
Exactly, yeah.
Let's hear something else from that, then.
Something else,
Get
you got
What
it.
You Want, the brand new album from Sierra Fragale, based in North Adams, and here for Live Music Friday in the Fabulous 413.
I'll play a song called Guess You Didn't Mean It. Guess you didn't mean it when you said you'd figure it out. Guess you didn't mean it when you said you'd figure it out. Guess you didn't mean it when you said you'd figure it out. And I guess I didn't mean it when I said I didn't care about it. And it's the middle of May and I'm tired from the summer already. And it's the middle of May and I'm losing my mind. Guess you didn't mean it when you said you'd figure it out. Guess you didn't mean it when you said you'd figure it out. Guess you didn't mean it when you said you'd figure it out. And I guess I didn't mean it when I said I didn't care about it. Now it's the middle of May and I'm tired from the summer already. And it's the middle of May and I'm losing my mind. And it's the middle of May and I'm trying not to call you. And it's the middle of May and I'm wondering if you lie. Guess you didn't mean it when you said you didn't mean it. Guess you didn't mean it.
Woo, so great. Sierra Fragale, live and Memorex Music Friday. Playing the acoustic guitar live and singing live, but playing to the tracks from the album. It's so cool.
How different do you feel like your guitar playing is when you're doing this stuff for yourself from what you end up doing for Cloudbelly?
That's a great question. I think the stuff that I do in Cloudbelly on guitar, it's way more textural and really just trying to complement Sam's incredible lead guitar playing. I really just try to like make a bed of little embellishments. It's funny that I ended up playing bass in Cloudbelly because I've always played guitar like a bass to compensate for the lack of bass in a lot of the live arrangements of things. That also helps with all of the live looping arrangements that I do as well. So it's definitely, I would say, way more arrangement forward with the solo things that I do. And in Cloudbelly, it's way more tinny and textural and like sparkly.
I also appreciate that what you bring to Cloudbelly is the questions from the audience when they're tuning. So Corey will be tuning, or Sam will be tuning, and Sierra will ask the audience if they have any questions.
Like, that is,
and then they answer the questions. It's hilarious to watch.
It is a good way to do banter. Like, I'm in awe as someone who is forced to do banter a bunch and is particularly bad at it.
But it's a great way to do it.
It's
because
a great way to do
it comes out of nowhere. We're like, does anybody have any questions in the middle of a rock show?
I know.
And it turns out lots of people do.
I do that in my solo act as well. And I just think it's become something that's very true to Sierra, you know. I think it's a very disarming way to engage with the audience. Yeah, I've done it at every show for the last year and a half, and I've gotten some really interesting questions.
Yeah, it's hilarious to watch and very fascinating. You're going on tour, but you're not playing anywhere in the 413 in the near vicinity unless you have a secret one that we don't know about that you'd like to tell us about now.
Yes, it literally just got confirmed, and I think I can say it, and I will say it, August 8th. Studio 9 in North Adams.
Oh, great.
Yeah.
Cool.
Excellent, which
That's
is
a great
your
spot.
home base.
Mm-hmm.
Sierra Fragale, thank you so much for coming back to the studio and playing for us for this Live Music Friday, and congratulations on your new album,
Yes.
Get What You
Happy
Want.
to you guys. Good to see you.
On the next Fabulous 413, budget cuts are no laughing matter.
But sometimes all you can do is laugh, and if those laughs can raise money to help your kids learn science, all the better.
We'll hang out with Lindsay Patterson and Marshall Escamilla of the Tumble Science Podcast for Kids to learn more about their Joke-a-thon fundraiser.
Plus, we'll head to Montague to explore the fungal fields of Boulder Top Farm.
That's so gross, we should just say they grow mushrooms.